my name's Robert Adams, and what I'd like to do is show you in this tutorial how we can make up our Art Deco shaped card using the dies here, and that's from our all occasion set. And in the pack comes this little tool here which just gives a measurement to where the dies are placed, and it just acts as a guide, and quite a nice little handy piece of kit to have. So where do we start? Well, I've printed out a piece of paper, or card should I say, 250 GSM from the Art Deco Resource CD-ROM. Now of course you can use anything you like, but you'll notice this one here has a pattern designed to work along the edge here. So we've got a pattern facing this way and it's reversed down to here, and then we have a panel at the back that you can just write a greeting in, or indeed you could pop that on the inside of the card. So where do we start? Well, we're going to use our dies and the parts here, and I would begin by literally folding the card in half. I would normally use the scoreboard's pretty good. Now, I've normally got the Hoogie one, big bright green one, and I missed seeing where I put it. So my bad, but there we go. So that's the back. You can see the patterns facing upright, as indeed it is there. So that is all in, works out beautifully for us. Now you may have noticed that this card actually is printed edge to edge. Lots of printers have this facility nowadays. The nice thing with this is as it prints from edge to edge, it actually comes from the middle of the card and spreads outwards. So you will still be able to fold that neatly and everything will work perfectly for you. If you haven't got edge to edge printing, you'll have a slight gap around the card. Don't worry about that, just trim it down to size and then use the dies as per normal. It just means that you'll have a little bit spilling over the top, but that is not a problem. So I've pre-folded it because it's just a heck of a lot easier to make the card up afterwards, so I always pop that in first. I would recommend, if you've got a scoreboard, to use that. It does make a neater job of folding the card. Now, as I've said, I'm using 250 GSM, and the reason for that is because, well, it's twofold. Let me start in this method, and then I want to show you what we're doing and why. Because in effect, look, 250 GSM, fold it in half, and you'll be able to cut through the whole thing in one go. Job done. But if you've got thicker card, you'll need to do the front and the back. So, well, let's just show you both. Okay, I'll pop that there, and we'll just zoom in a little bit so we can see what we're doing with the dies. Right, I'm going to use my template here, just pop it down there. Going to get a little bit of tape ready to hand as well, because it doesn't always go according to plan. Okay, tape down there, just pop that to one side. Now this guide, you'll notice there's little marks in it, and what I tend to find is that the basic card works well with the longest mark here. This gives me the overall look that I'm going for. But again, as you move it further out, you'll get a bigger card, and as you move it further in, so the shape will get progressively smaller. And if I just pop my dies, whoops, on there, you'll see then effectively that cut will look like that. As we move it out, it gets bigger and obviously smaller, and it reaches a point where A, it's not really working in the middle, or B, it's so far out you've really, that's the limit to which you can go to here if you want a really big Art Deco shaped card, because we're cutting on an A4 machine, and that would just spill over the edge. Except saying that, you could put it in the other way, but really we want to cut this way. So let's just cut to the chase, pop our guide down there, and I use this line here. Whether you line up to there or to there is up to you, or try and do it in the middle, really makes very little difference. Line it up nice and straight, pop the die down and just rest it in there, and that will give us our shape. And we'll see it'll just spill a little bit over the edge there, and the idea is to get this nice and level down here. So when we're happy with that, that's going to be my waist side. So I'm going to lean into the camera there, and I always like to hold it in the base here as well. Boom, there we go, first die down. And again, rinse, repeat for the second side. So let's just get that into shot a little bit better for you. Line up along the edge here, I've the guide into position on that line, and I think I've just lined it up just to the edge there, a little bit easier. Again, a little bit of tape ready to go. I'll just pop, you won't see that, just popping it off camera at the moment, but be ready for me to pick up on. 2 ticks. The other die now rests here, so just make sure everything's fine there. So the key thing is just trying to keep this, get my fingers out of the way, that nice and level if we can. Just line it up there, that one to there. And so I'll just come back a little bit. Whoops, just line that up to there. There we go, down to there. And they should be roughly the same height. I was running a little bit higher, so I've just moved that. It's not the exact science, which is great. But as I said, if we can keep that nice and level down there, that's all the better. And again, I'm just popping that on there to hold it. Remember, this is the waist side here, so it doesn't matter too much with the tape there. And in an ideal world, they'd be pretty straight. You know, just looking at it, I'm probably slightly out, so I'm going to do that visually by eye. But I'm pretty happy with that. And we're going to cut that in a moment. Now, I'm going to fold this in half and just run it through the machine. That's my card made. But what I'm also going to do is then show you the next technique. Well, we'll talk about it in a moment, but I'm going to go ahead and we'll just repeat it on the back as well. But there's a few little tricks of the trade for that as well. So for the next thing to do now, fold this card in half, because that's what we're going to do. Whoops, make sure that is nicely taped down. I think I missed it a bit there. And just get that onto my plates ready to go. So that's on my plate ready to go. I would take a little bit more care with the, or less care with the placing of the tape. It's held in position, but I could try harder, I think. Okay, so with that, I'm happy with that. We can see now that's in half. It's 250 GSM. We're going to run it through the machine this away. So let's give it a little bit of a run up to get it into the machine. We don't want to start cranking it too hard too soon. Now, interestingly, this is going to do one or two things. Well, it's going to cut, but it'll also make a nice fold for us. But I said, interestingly, though this is 250 GSM card, do you know what? You'll hear. Yeah, I want to hear the cracking. Yes, there you go. That sounds quite brutal, but it's absolutely fine. I'll just run that through once. We won't need to go through twice. Could go back. You will hear a mammoth amount of cracking going on. Please don't panic. Please don't panic. Just double check everything looks good there. You can run it through twice. They cut pretty well. I can see it's gone through, so I'm going to just release it now at that point there. Okay. And there we go. So yeah, coming back to the noise that it makes, yeah, please don't panic, especially if you're new to all of this. Now I'm being a bit careful with the tape, but that's all waste over there, so I don't have to be quite so careful with it. And there we go, a bit of tape on there. And as I said, if you open it up, you get this beautiful crease on the card now, which even with my bone tool, it seems to elude me. So 250 GSM card, that's gone right through the machine. Open it up, and we've got the 2 bits here to cut and liberate from our card. So a ruler down, and again, let's just get that into shot for you a little bit better. I don't know if it's going to pick up on the camera, but the cut lines are pretty good. So what I'm going to do is drop my scalpel into there. I'm lining it up level with the other one into the existing cut. Just pull it across like so. And same again here. Again, yeah, you can see that on the camera now a little bit more clearly. So just line that up there. Hold the card and everything down into my original cut and across. And we'll finish off exactly the same for the back there. In and across. And yep, over there. Now I'm cutting in, I'm going the wrong way there, but do you hear that click? It's gone. The last thing is, now it depends where we place. I like this quite deep, so I actually pushed the die up a little bit. You might just have to snip here just a fraction at those parts there. Let me show you again on that one. There we And again, just a little snip. So just run along that line to there. And well, it's out. There we go. Fold that in half and we have this lovely Art Deco card. So we could write on the inside, and there's a nice space on the back to pop a greeting on if you want to as well. We'll just put a little image, or made with, if you've got a personalised stamp or personalised cards. If you're selling these, great, fill your boots. You could pop your details on the back, maybe get repeat business as well. Okay, so that's our card there. That's part number one. Same principle for the back. So let me grab another piece of card here. And I'm going to now go ahead and get to the stage where I've cut the front part out. But instead of folding it in half, or I'm going to fold the card in half, I'm not going to cut the whole thing at once. So we'll come back when I've cut all of that up, and then I'll talk about the second part there. And then last but not least, I'm going to show you, if I reach across, a little bit of matte and layering, a few techniques for that as well, which we can use with our Marie board and with our papers as well. So stay tuned, as they say. I will be back in a moment. I'm just working on this side now, but I'm back sooner than I thought. But I just wanted to share with you because it's an experimental process. But as we go along, I just realised, look, pop a little bit of tape. Once you've lined that up, if you pop a bit of tape where you want it, and I've done that on the waist, it makes popping the die down into position a little bit easier as well. So again, I'm going to go ahead and do that for the other side, cut this all out, and then we'll come back and look at how we do that side there. So that side's now cut. We can see the bits there. So we're going to flip this over and do that part there. Now you can again just fold at this stage, make sure everything's good, which it should be. And then I would open everything up, and we're going to pop the next two dies down on this side. So it's really much of the muchness. We're going to pop that one on there, line that up there. As I said, you can pop a little bit of tape on to hold it, wouldn't be a bad thing. But this is really the technique I would recommend if you're using thicker card, 300 GSM, even a wee bit thicker than that. You can't really pass that through. It just won't go happily through your machine in one pass. So it's just a wee bit more extra time to do it. You could, if you wanted to, just try and match it exactly like you've done that side. All being well, it'll be fine. But I tend to do, for the back part, just make it, I just come in a fraction. So if I've used that line there, I'll just come back in almost like 2 millimeters in that way, and just make sure that I've come down right to the edge, maybe just spill over the edge here by about 1 millimeter or so. The reason for that is that when the card is open, you won't see any white lines. That way, from the back, you'll see a little bit of a white outline, as this is basically effectively just slightly smaller. And it's just an aesthetics. You could trim it up afterwards if you wanted to. That would be an equally valid technique to do. Just going to pop that in there. Because that's going to become 2 millimeters in slightly smaller, you'll see it doesn't quite line up there. So don't worry about that. That's just out by a fraction, and that means you're actually doing everything right. Pop that down on the tape there. Release this, and same again for the other side there. So lining that up. Let's zoom in a bit and show you a little bit more clearly. That's my mark there. I'm just going to come in a little bit closer to there, a couple of millimeters, just there or thereabouts, and just drop this down by about 1 millimeter or 2 there. Pop a little bit of tape onto it. I am onto the main surface, but that's removable tape, so we should be good. And again, just drop the die down, rest it onto there. And we'll see that's just in slightly on that side. That's fine. Bit of tape's already in position there. Now just carefully remove that. And I put a little bit of tape down here just to hold this into position as well. Trying not to, if I can, spill over to there. Okay, so I'm ready now to again pop that through the machine. So what I will do is just pop it onto my plate again. So this is now ready to go through my cutting machine. So I'll pop it back on like so, and into there like that. And again, I'll just run it through this way, a little bit less resistance for it. You may well have an electric machine. Oh, that sounds fantastic. I tell you what, if I was new to crafting and I heard that, I'd be terrified, but please don't be. If you are new to crafting, I've mentioned this, don't worry, it's just a natural process. These are big dies, they're cutting beautifully. It's just a bit of tension in all the plates and everything. They are not going to snap on you, I promise you. And nothing too untoward's happening. Okay, so at this stage now, I'll just remove the die. And again over here, it's well and truly stuck on. That pops it in very nicely. And we're ready, let's move everything out the way, to again just cut those two lines there. So ruler down. Using a craft knife if you want to, you could use scissors. I'm kind of locking that into there, like so. I tend to cheat because I've got the ruler on there, go right the way across. But I find it easier just to lock in. You can measure to make sure everything's nice and square. Line up there, see your cut line there, and just run along like so. There we go. Now here we're just going to join that one up slightly over on that side, a bit closer to there, so I'll just cheat with that, but this is the back part of the card. There we go, that's out of the way, so we're ready to fold this over. All being well with our technique now, as we look at our card, imagine that's coming out the envelope, it's all beautifully lined up. Look, this is just me folding, there's a wee bit of a white line under there, that's just human error, me folding the card. You can trim that away if you like, but most people will never see it. Importantly, if we flip it over, now that was a wee bit out on my cutting, but from the back, most people aren't judging your card, it'll be open, they'll never really see it, they'll open it up. Perhaps have a look at the back. But that is just, it's sort of belt and braces just coming in a little bit. I was over exaggerating just to show you, but it's up to you. You could get very close and measure it all and it probably wouldn't notice, but I thought it would be nice just to show you that technique. So what's the next thing? Well, we've got this lovely card here. What we can do is mat and layer it. And we're going to do exactly the same thing as we would with our card there, but this time we're going to move everything in a little bit. So if I just show you, basically you're going to cut that on the card there. Let's just show you for an example now. So for the mat and layering, what I would do is pick up on my original marks here. I just move in a little bit and decide it's not bad to have a look here and use this little guide. Think, well, I'll come in, probably nearly a centimetre. I'll use the third mark there. So back onto, in this instance, my lighter sheet, or I could have used a little bit of Murray board if I wanted to. So my original mark is there, and we're coming in 1, 2, to about 3 there, just as a contrast to show you. And again, a little bit of tape just to hold that into position. I should put that on the waist side, but it's going to come off. And let's line up my die in there. Oops, it's sticking already for me. There we go. I should put the tape on afterwards. So that's lining up there. 3 in there, that's nice and level there. Line that up and just pop that into position like so. And repeat for the other side. So main one, 1, 2, 3. Or 1, 2, 3 from there. Sticks to everything but where I want it to go. So die back on there, rest it in. Again, you could have a little bit of tape there. I'm sort of being a little bit gun-ho here, but it'll all work. Hold that into position there. It'll lock nicely. We're going to chop across the top. I do favour just holding a bit down on the base there, pull that away, and just run that through my cutting machine. Just run that through. And lift the dies off. That tape sticks pretty good, but you can see that comes away and does not harm the surface. But it's better to work slightly to the waste side. I'm going to keep that on there. Not going to fight with it. So the next thing is to cut across here. Now it's quite hard to see where the cut lines are. It might be easier just to turn it over because, again, it's probably not showing up quite so well on the camera, but we can just pop that with our ruler here, just square that up and cut across from there. So it's up to you. I'm just going to work from the back now. Cut that one to there. Now I could extend this or cut it across the base. Let's just extend that line there. So I'm going to extend this line here. I'm just going to pop my ruler in, line with it, and just pull it down there, and do the same again just down here. So kind of get that as a guideline, ruler in. I'm just going to go all the way to the base. I'm going to cut some off on the base there, but I don't really know how much I want to cut off at this stage. So if I come back to my card here, we can see how our matte and layering works. We can just lay that in there, and with a trusty pencil to hand, measure off. If you want to line up there, you can. You may want to come a little bit deeper or just leave an edge down there. It really is up to you. This is just the basic technique. Let's just go down to about there. I've got my pencil lines there, and I will just snip it across, and there we go. Now I tend to matte and layer. It was nice to have another layer in there, so we would do exactly the same technique. I would just come out a little bit in between there, so I wouldn't stick that down at that stage. I would just use my guide. Frantic rustle as I reach for it there. So we can see, look, that was our main one there. That one comes in and lines up there on our third one. So you could go to the second one there. So what we've done is used our template guide here. That was the main one. We came in to the the second one, but third marker, if you like, along there, and that gives me roughly that mark there. And so I could go in between, so perhaps to the second one, and then matte and layer, and I'd have a nice, perhaps a gold and a mirror board in between, a sandwich. Or I could go the other way and have another layer in there. You can just keep building them up. But that is the basics on how to use the dies and the little guide here. It is quick and easy. Just to recap, 250 GSM, just slice it right the way through. Thicker card, I tend to do one half then the other and just move things around a little bit, and that way you can allow for the fact as they look at the card there's nothing sort of spilling out, because it's not difficult to line this up, but I'm trying to give you the easy version of it. Again, the more you use something, the easier it all becomes, and you'll develop your own techniques with it. But I think you'll agree, I love the Art Deco. It makes a lovely card. It's really quick and easy, and the versatility is being able to make these shapes with the same dies as well. And I think you're going to absolutely love it. I've enjoyed it, and I know this is hot off the press. I'm sure we're going to come up with some wonderful things we can do with this as well. Clever crafters out there. Anyway, I hope that gives you an insight as to what you can do with the dies, and that you'll enjoy it. And this video is sort of just showing you the basics of how to get to grips with it all. So enjoy your crafting, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.